Alright, we're back on the, ouch, hit my head, project Jeep. And what we're going to tackle today is this leaky fuel injection pump. This is the reason why I only heard it cough and not run when we picked it up. But as Jared would say, I made a questionable decision and decided that the guy who was selling it to me was being truthful in the fact that he had it running and the fuel injection pump leak started, and well, let's put it this way, he just kind of lost interest. So our goal today is to get this fuel injection pump leak fixed. This way I can start and drive it a little bit. I know there's no cooling system hooked up, no intercooler, no exhaust, but if I can move it in and out of the garage when I want to, it'll help on rainy days for me to keep going. I did put up an awning, oops, sorry, just to keep the sun off me and so I can film better, but you could, I think, very easily do this in your driveway, which is what I'm trying to replicate. Alright, I got everything, I think, hooked up the way he said it needed to be to start. We're not going to be able to run along, but we're going to crank it. I want you to watch right here for any leaks, and I have those lines all loose. So hopefully, if everything works out, it'll just be crank, crank, boom. Alright, I was planning on making this 2 videos, but I don't have a choice. My starter down there that's brand new is spinning but not engaging anything. The wire leading down to it is roughly 63 miles long and routed kind of poorly. The other thing is, where is it? I threw it on the ground. The lead from the positive battery terminal to the PDC under the hood, I mean, yeah. And then you got this ground running back here to the firewall, which is, you know, okay. This one running up here is very lackluster, and it's actually kind of resting pretty close to the turbo. Same with this one, both of which I'm not a fan of. So I'd like to keep the battery where it is, I think, but I'm gonna have to dress some of this back up. I'm gonna hopefully leave that alone, but shorten this up a good bit, and then take this and probably run this down by the starter, because that'll ground out both the engine, transmission, and everything else, and it won't be up here. So we're gonna go ahead and dive into some wiring. Sorry, I mean, it won't crank. I can't check for fuel leaks if it can't run. Good news is, though, like I said, we haven't let out any of the new smoke. So let's go ahead and get to wiring. I'm actually pretty good at it, but I just my OCD is just triggered beyond all belief. You have absolutely no idea. Well, I'm no expert, but I say when you pull your starter and you find this, it's not a good sign. So it looks like that this is a 9516 starter. Previous owner said he's broke some gears. Apparently they designed it so that the gear breaks before it wears any of the teeth. I have mixed feelings about that, I guess, but the pinion or replacement pinion kit is like 20 bucks. So we're gonna get one of those coming. So I know what you're saying. Your workbench looks like absolute crap. And you're right. You would be 100% right. But That seems to be the going thing for any successful YouTubers, a lot of crap on their bench. I ordered through Summit Racing, I had my address there, Summit Racing, 2 pinion gears, and the guy who I bought this from, believe it or not, had one. This seems to be a common problem with these starters, and he ran into it before where like I said, they designed it to come apart, but what I don't know is where, like, there's the pinion gear here, oops, where's the, alright, excuse all this. I know the battery's sitting on the outside, everything is just wherever, but I just want to see if it cranks, and if it cranks, I want to try to start it. And once that's done, shut her down. We don't have any coolant system, we don't have anything else hooked up. So, well, that thing's skipping around like that. Wasn't what I was hoping for. I mean, it took me a minute to figure out what was going on, but once I seen it, you know, that this belt was skipping teeth, which means it's out of time anyway. I think it's time to call in some bigger guns. I'll pull the injection pump off. That won't be too hard. But I'll watch some videos, see if I feel like trying to rebuild it. If not, I might have to go out. Alright. I always knew this is eventuality. Or I could just buy another one. Buy a used one and send this one out to be rebuilt whenever I get a chance. Things to ponder. I'll ponder those for a little while. Let's see what happens. So, I'm trying to move that into the garage to work on it some. And I was using this and the winch, and the winch broke. Luckily, my garage was around to catch this. We got some body work to do now. This was already broke, but now we got that to fix. Not horrible, not great. What are you gonna do? Alright, so when you last seen this Jeep, well, it was in a bit of a different environment. It was outside, and I was trying to work on it under a sunshade, and yeah, things didn't go very well. I screwed up. We locked up the pump. This guy's locked completely. And I looked into several other different options. I picked one. I don't know if it's going to be popular with the rest of you guys, but there's a couple reasons I did it. I ordered I think it's a Hahn mechanical TDI pump to change out this fuel injected pump. Now, some of the people online have said, oh, you'll never receive the same amount of power, rah, 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 blah, blah, blah. I got that. I fully accept that. I am not building a torque monster. There's just no way. It's just not going to happen. This is supposed to be a fun project. It's supposed to be a cool project. It's not an extreme off-roader. I'm just going for dead nuts reliable and something I could drive, you know, to and from around in the summertime. So you have to kind of keep all your expectations in mind whenever you're building something. Like, is it supposed to be the fastest thing ever? Is it supposed to bounce off rocks? Is it supposed to, be something cool? Like whenever I built my Nova, my two goals was to have, first off, a unique car, which the LS Swap made it unique. And the other thing was, I wanted a, you know, like something more autocrossy fast rather than street and strip. So that was the whole idea behind the build, and I kept everything to that point. This is supposed to just be a Jeep that has a diesel engine. So with that in mind, I am going to go back to the mechanical pump. I'm going to do away with most of this and hopefully right some of the past wrongs. So yeah, I used this pin to lock this out. It was a 16 millimeter. You just kind of lift up on it. You put your wrench on, lift up. I wouldn't use the extension. Lock this out, and then you take 3 bolts out right here. And this whole kit and caboodle should come out. And they are 13 millimeter. If you don't have the little bar, they said a 4 millimeter drill bit, and I don't know what that would translate into. That'd be like a 1/4 inch, I think, in standard speak. Although it doesn't look 1/4 inch, looks like more like 3/16. If I had to guess just off my visual acuity. And we got that sucker off, and off to the side. Alright, that's completely out of our way now. Now let's take some, I think it looks like a 10 millimeter. We'll knock this upper cover off. Alright, now that's out of the way. Put this one back in. Now we gotta get this bow housing thingy off. Take out the lower one. But the issue I have is that this is a 6 millimeter Allen. Get a wrench on that. Or a pipe or something. Actually, do that. There's no way an 8 fits. was not good. Let me see. Oh, that's not good. That doesn't feel real good. And no, it doesn't fit real well. Let me see what I can do. That's definitely not working. I don't like the way that feels. Pause. Let me think. Trying oh yeah, see how you go along exactly in plane. That's what you want. Okay? Boom, boom. And it lines up with an old mark that is, I might have too much light, you can see, I think right there in that one tooth, and then you can see, yeah, it looks better without it. You can see that one tooth with the V, and that, I think that's right. I said somebody's been here before. I wasn't going to fully trust it, but we'll because I verified it, we're going to call it good now. All right, now we're going to take out these fuel lines. I am going to zip tie this shit up. I'm sorry for swearing, but I hate shoddy wiring. I just do. All this just thrown in here drives me nuts, and that's why we're going. One of the reasons we're going to a mechanical pump. But once I get these lines off, bust them off. I think they're like a 16 millimeter, if I remember. And then we'll pop our injectors out, and that's how we're going to figure out to rotate our crankshaft around to top dead center. Okay? All right. So I bought these thinking that they would help me find top dead center. And I think if I had a different engine, it would. What I'm having trouble with was, excuse me, trying to shed some light, is they would all index off of something. There'd be some sort of a hole or a timing mark. And I think it's for other Volkswagen engines. That's what those gears work for. They do not work for this one. So I was a little naive. I thought I'd take it all apart. There'd be a mark on the snout here where I would insert said whatcha-higgy, and all will be well with the world, and it'd be top dead center. But as it turns out, top dead center is actually referenced off of the harmonic balancer. There is a little notch in the balancer, and there's a little notch in there. And unfortunately, the harmonic balancer is not indexed. So there's no keyway or anything for me to know which way to put that on so I could, just slap it on and orient it. So we're going to do it the hard way, which is the way I kind of thought I was going to have to do it to begin with. I got new injectors anyway, so we're going to take these lines off, pull this injector, number one, and we're going to rotate the engine around to where I think top dead center probably is. Okay, and then we're going to reinstall the cover and probably throw the belt on, honestly, at least on this bottom part, and line it back up with TDC. Okay, because we're going to have to reinstall a timing cover. It's going to index off of these bolts. You know what I mean? But I need to know about where I'm at. I also need to loosen this. I didn't realize that at first. I do have some pullers. I'll probably get one of my pullers in here and just pop this off real quick. I got a 3-jaw that'll probably work pretty nice. But yeah, I'm learning as I go. I've never messed with one of these engines before, and the fact that, like I said, this does not turn. Well, it turns, but it doesn't turn the whole way, and I know it's jump time is making this exceedingly more difficult, but we'll get through it. I have full faith in myself. It's just going to take, well, like anything, it's going to take longer than I thought. And this sucker looks to be a 19 millimeter. We'll start there. All right. What did I do? There it is. So I hope you can see it, but there's a little divot in the metal and a notch in the harmonic balancer. Like I said, I used my method to get it close, and then went ahead and put the harmonic balancer back on. Basically, I just need to figure out which one of these bolts needed to be on top. So I'm going to go ahead and take it off, and then I'm going to go to Crescent and I'm going to buy a paint stick so I can mark the sprocket and the teeth to show which ones, like how to do this without the harmonic balancer on. So if I ever do end up here again, I can fix it. All right. This has been this is a challenge, but I'm getting through it. So, as recommended, 3 marks. Now we're going to get back to wrestling with this injection pump. So I just dropped the injectors in for the moment. I'll have to look up what they torque to, but for right now I'm happy with them just being out of the way. We got to take these 3 bolts out, and then this nut off. Take these lines off. We got these lines off. We got to take that bracket, I think, off the back. And then this sucker's ready to come off. I took the bracket off before. It's not fun, but it's doable. Not fun, but doable. Oh boy. And then while we have the injection pump off, I'll probably put the crabs back onto here. Maybe put the glow plug harness back on. And then I think what I'm going to do is actually, when I get the timing belt and everything back on, I'll leave the serpentine belt off. And let's see if we can just get this thing to crank over vice grip garage style with one of those little clickety clack things. And this, like I said, this new injection pump should be a mechanical. There we go. Make sure you drop it on the floor. I don't know why they shipped it that way, but yeah, it's a mechanical injection pump. Let's get it out of the box, I'll show you. Alright, so this thing looks a little bit more complicated because, well, it is. This is supposed to be a mechanical pump for an ALH. I have a couple questions. Like, number one, is this the throttle? Or is this the throttle? I don't know. I also don't know how I'm going to run my throttle brackets or anything like that, but if I could at least get this engine to run, I would be ecstatic. Once it's running, I can pull this and see what happens, and then pull this and see what happens. You still need power to your Holden windings. That's what this is. This allows the fuel into the block. Fuel comes in through here. It looks like, yeah. This is obviously vacuum operated somehow. I don't know. I might have to. Is there any instructions with this stupid thing? Nope, nothing, just here it is. If you don't know what it is, you shouldn't be messing with it. But, because this looks like it'd be for the throttle cable, but it doesn't, you know, it's on this side. And this looks like it's on this side. And I don't know. I don't know. So, in other news of stuff that sucks, see that? And that is not like even a regular nut. It's some sort of a rib nut or something. Alright. So, I think that this is where it's going to have to end, because I got questions. Most of the stuff I can figure out. Like, I took that nozzle out so it can go in here. Not too big of a deal. But what really perplexes me now is the adjustment here on the housing. 'Cause first off, I definitely don't have bolts for that. I mean, I'm going to guarantee you I don't have bolts for that. And I wish I would have known that to begin with. But other than that, they seem pretty similar. Yeah, and then once I lock it in at 0 with my pin, or I think it's a 6mm drill bit, it doesn't really matter what tilt it's at. Yeah. But I just want to speak with them, and I also want to know what that vacuum line should be hooking up to, like the boost reference or something, maybe. That would make sense, because then it would add fuel when the boost is up. Yeah. So yeah, I went ahead and capped this just because it's there. But yeah, I'm gonna have to speak with them. Any label at all would be nice. I mean, absolutely any label at all would be spectacular. But whatever. Alright, back to it. So, I just got off their phone with their technical support. This is a boost reference. This is fuel in. This is the throttle. This is a kill. So if I ever wanted to kill the engine, I could just come out and cut the fuel to it. You should have the same battery positive for the electronic reference. Same thing here. Exact same thing. Sorry. Right there. Okay, so that's on that. And the other plug is, he said, just a vent, and you could just leave the plug right in it. It ain't gonna bother nothing. We do have to grind, cut off a little bit here. I'm gonna have to do that and be very, very careful. I don't want to get anything into my valve train, but I think, like I said, we're done for today. Okay. And the signal, we're done. Look who it is. The greatest sidekick known to man.
So what you doing?
Well, we got the new injectors in. We got all of our timing marks marked up. So this is in time, this is in time. I have to make a few adjustments to make our new fuel injection pump work. Our old one is over there on the floor. And we're going to have to rig up some sort of a throttle. And I got to go through all this electricity. We might...
Spaghetti.
Huh?
Gotta fix the spaghetti.
Yeah. We might fix the spaghetti by just cutting it all out and saying the hell with it. We may do a Vice Grip Garage start on this thing for the first time. Vice Grip Garage, he doesn't use the key or anything. He'll put a battery in it, as I say, Derek says.
And pulls the...
And then he puts like a remote switch on it. So he pushes the button and the starter cranks. And then we should just need a 12 volt hot to this thing. And once I'm done, this thing should run.
So everything can move and all that?
Well, don't move it right now because it's all lined up perfectly.
Well, do all the gears and stuff moves fine?
We're going to guess. We're going to find out. It's either going to work or it's not. You know what I mean? That's the scary part about picking up somebody else's project is you know, you don't know if the clutch is any good or the transmission.
Yeah.
Or anything like that. He said he drove it, but who knows?
Moss is going on it too.
Yeah, I always did think that it was out of time. That was one of my first thoughts whenever we first talked to him, but yeah, we might even do away with this guy because we're probably not going to need it. Like, we're dumbing this engine way down, but also making it make more power at the same time. How's that sound?
Sounds great. Amazing.
So, it's a Saturday. I came back out here. This pump, when I go to fit it in, is hitting against the bracket, like right here. So, I marked out basically what I'm going to cut. And I think I'm going to use my body saw to cut this because I do have my valve cover off. I'm going to cover the valve cover too. But while I have my valve cover off, I'm going to try to use my body saw to give that a little trim. And then I will cover this. I actually might just set the valve cover back on, but I just don't want any grit getting in anywhere. That's actually my biggest fear. So, first off, no offense to the gentleman who wired this up, but I couldn't handle it anymore. I had to clean this up some. It's still not cleaned up all the way. There's still stuff that I got to take care of, but I felt better once all that was out. And if I do reuse it, I'll reroute it however I want. I'm going to take, you know, the ECM out yet. Which I thought it was mounted, but here it's only got one, maybe 2 bolts in it, but we'll get that out. Anyway, other news. So with the mechanical pump, like here it is, and I got it locked out at top dead center. The issue I have is with especially the bottom bolt. This one right here, which is, I mean, I know it's loose, don't get me wrong, but there's a reason for that. With the bracket the way it is and the pump design the way it is, there is no way that I would ever get a wrench on that bolt. So I'm trying to come up with something. I have an idea to try. I'll let you know if it works here in a little bit. I mean, it'll be a little bit for you. For me, it's probably going to take 2 days to ship. But we're going to go with a bit of a different style bolt. And hopefully that fixes our issue. Like, I can put my fingers on it, but I can't do anything about it. And the original way this was, the bolt went, actually I still keep it right here. somewhere. Yeah, right there. Hold on. The bolts went into the pump this way. Okay. Which for 2 of the 3 it still can. I mean, you can literally still, for the top 2, if I got a little bit of a longer bolt, we could still have it so that just the bolt head was showing. But where I run into issue is this bottom bolt, because like I said, if I push a bolt through on this side, I have no way of holding the other side to put, or even to dream about putting a nut on it. Like I can put my finger on it, but I mean that's just it. There is no way to do this. Like I can touch it. Oops. But I can't fit anything in, because the way that this bracket is, it's kind of like a cradle. You know what I mean? It goes the whole way around, and the pump is larger back here than it is here. So that's left me in a predicament, but I've come up with a creative solution, and I'm hoping it works, and I'll let you know if it does. All right? Let's just keep on keeping on. Alright, it's been several days, and I think I solved my bolt from the back problem. We'll see. But I came up with these. These are a grade 8 metric bolt from McMaster Carr that's basically a carriage bolt. And what's nice about a carriage bolt, sorry I put that in already, is they have this square at the bottom. And when I slide them into the slot here, you know, they stay still. They don't turn once they're tight. Now, as far as nuts and stuff go, I haven't quite figured that out yet. I know that these bolts crash. They definitely crash. They're too long. So I got them in a 40 and a 45. We'll see how these do, but what'll be nice is I can get my hand on this bottom bolt, which you can't tell because it's tight. I snugged it up a little bit. I could just kind of put a bolt in on the bottom here, and as I slide the pump in, I can push the bolt through from the back side, a lot like I did here. And then hopefully that will hold it still as I tighten the nut. And I think I got a pretty creative nut solution too. You just flip around on McMaster Carr long enough, you'll find something that works for you. But because these bolts originally only had, you know, that head sticking out, so that's going to be a little harder to replicate. But if we got to, we could always also cut a little bit off of these. But let's see how this goes. Let's let's do a test fit and see where we end up. All right. So it's a little good news and bad news. The good news is that I was able to completely tighten all those bolts. Now for the bad news is is the fact that after I tighten those bolts, I can't adjust the pump like you're supposed to be able to tilt it left or right. Not a big deal. I think I can live without it. After all, the other pump you couldn't advance and adjust the retard the timing. And once I set the timing, it's kind of set. It doesn't really matter where the pump is when I put the belt on, as long as it's at 0. Like I said, that's a top dead center, that's a top dead center, that's a top dead center on number 1. We shouldn't have an issue. But the issue is, put a little black spray paint on here, and that was so I could push this pulley on and see if it contacted any of the bolts, which, as you can see, yeah, it does. It just does. Like there's no getting around it. It does. So I'm going to have to either grind these down. I can do that right now with everything just the way it is, actually. Just grind them down. Take a couple minutes with a grinder. or order shorter bolts. So I think I'm going to measure how much stick out I have, and then see if I can measure. I'll put a little dab of spray paint on here and see how far in my pulley's going. Because if I only got to remove a little bit, I'm going to, and that'll be that. If it's a lot, then I might look into getting different bolts. Because like I said, I know that these heads clear, which they ought to be right about there. You know what I mean? But if I grind the bolts off, like if you can see how close we are, like with that washer and that nut, we're right at the same size that these bolt heads used to be. So if I can take this down to a flush, I will. And that might just be where we're at. Yeah, let me do some more thinking. Same test. Oh, I can tell it's not hitting. You see a little faint line. I think that is from the beginning because there's no blackness on any of these bolts. I just rubbed it, and as you can see, there was no paint transfer on all the bolts. Now, why didn't I get shorter bolts? Well, to be honest with you, because I did the math, and these bolts were 40 millimeter, and they were about 1/8 of an inch too long, which translates into 3.5 millimeters. They don't sell, at least not that I found, carriage bolts. They go down in half, like 5 millimeter increments. So the next size down would have been 35 millimeters, not 37, whatever the math I just told you. 37.5. So I would have lost some thread engagement, and I didn't want that. So I do kind of think to myself when I do these things, am I hurting or helping future Barry? Because technically I could have just, welded all these nuts and ground them flush and whatever, they'd be there forever. But that would make the pump unremovable, you know what I mean? So I try not to do stuff to cause myself grief further down the line. I do think I'll still be able to get these nuts off, but I think the extra thread engagement's worth it. And if you were wondering about the washers, I did mention I was getting special washers. These are the washers, and if you look at them, let me kind of, alright, that's going to be even harder to see because I threw it on the ground. Let me get one out. If you look at them, they're not flat. They got like a hump right here. Okay, I think you can see that. They're convex. Okay, you can see there's a little air gap around them. If I feel them, I can feel them pretty well. There's the number I got from McMaster Car. These are lock flat washers, and I'm gonna be honest with you, I got them mostly because they I wouldn't have to have a lock underneath here, which would have drove these even further, and then I would have had to use jam nuts or something along those lines, which would give me even less thread engagement. And anyway, it was just a quick way to get both a flat washer and a lock washer into the same area. Capiche? Alright, I got the gear fit but loose, This is locking it out, so it can, you know, be adjusted if need to be. This pin locks it at, you know, top dead center. This guy is loose, so he can spin freely. And I just verified with my mirror that it's still at top dead center. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go ahead and put my crank pulley back on with the cover that has the actual mark for top dead center. Oh, excuse me, I'm going to put the belt on. Then I'm going to put my crank pulley cover and the crank pulley on that actually has the marks for top dead center. And I'm going to double check that we're still right where we need to be. Okay? And then tension it up, and then we'll lock lock everything down. Once all the tensioners are on, we'll lock everything down. Alright, we're about out of battery, but you can see that timing mark right there is lined up. I put a little white in it. That should be top dead center there. My tensioner, the two slots are lined up. Next time I do that, I will buy the tool. I've been double checking. You can't see it in the mirror, but yeah, I've been double checking to make sure that my valves are timed. And you can see right in there, I just pulled the thing out. My hole is lined up for top dead center here. These are all tight. I am going to look up torque specs, but just for my own sake, I'm going to set you back here. Maybe. Set you about over here. How about right here? This is the problem whenever you're only a semi-professional YouTuber. Like I make money, don't get me wrong, but I'm not making any truck payments with this. Let's see. I just want to go around a revolution or two. Make sure nothing is stopping me. There's one. It actually rotates pretty easily. And we're back. Okay, I was about to throw up my mouth a little bit. Definitely spins now that the pump spins. It looked like everything turned. I can't rotate it and watch the back, at least not with you. So I'll do that and make sure that cam is turning. I think it is. Then I'm going to look up the torque specs on all of this. Make sure that I got it all right. I know this one's right. But yeah, we're close to... Oh, I gotta torque the crab nuts down. Ejector crabs. I want to vomit, but I think I'm going to take a break for a little bit. I think this was enough for a day. Alright. Sorry, that was probably a heck of a long shot, but I got my injection lines on. This line is loose. I mean... Yeah, it kind of touches, but it's not under tension, so I think that'll be all right. The tops are loose, even though I can't. There, that one I can turn by hand. I just snugged them. I didn't crank them down. So, what I should need to do at this point is hook up my pulling windings and my starter. And we're going to do the starter via, what you call it, the old way, where's the whatchahiggy, the Vice Grip Garage way, because we're just testing the engine. I ain't driving this anywhere. We're gonna make sure it's at neutral, and I'm only gonna run it for a minute and make sure it runs, and then shut her down. All right? Okay. Okay. And then this, if I connect it up, should do, to the positive side, should do our pulling windings. It might be actually grounded out. So we might have to come up with a better solution for that. Alright. If you listen closely, I wired in this toggle switch, you'll hear the pulling windings come in. Up through our injectors. Let's hook up a battery charger. Alright, we won't be able to drive it anywhere, but we've got it bled. I got a new cameraman who's going to come over here, and he's going to help me document this. It's all hot wired, okay? And I think I left everything right where it needs to be. Well, let's go. Something is wrong.
I agree. It's smoking. Why is it smoking?
Out the
Test
injector holes. Huh.
Well,
that's not good.
Ready? We are recording.
Alright. Found another guy who said instead of 20 Newton meters, 20 foot-pounds. So we're switched to 20 foot-pounds. Let's try it again. Ready?
It's running!
Leaving some air out or drop the gold.
Scared.
I don't know what just happened. That doesn't seem right.
Why is it vibrating so much? Whew.
Let's try it one more time. up, Thelma.
Okay, attempt 3.
Alright. There's the diesel Jeep. And I'll be honest with you. I don't know. I've been playing with it, and something that I've been wondering about is whenever I picked this up in North Carolina, the guy I bought it from said that he had already fixed the starter once, because he says when he cranked it, I wanted to hear it run. He cranked it and he tried to put ether to it. Sometimes it would misfire and roll backwards, and it would snap the pinion off the starter, which happened to me twice now. And I got to thinking, since I've been doing this, since I've been working on it, and it definitely runs like it has a misfire, I wonder if I don't have a dead hole. Because the engine, whether it's ether or not, with no fuel in it, alright, it should start, like, if you spray ether into it, it should take a fuel charge and just fire off and run for a second. It should never rotate backwards. Like, adding fuel to it should never make it misfire. So I went to, where is it? Amazon. I bought a diesel compression tester. I have a gasoline compression tester, but actually I have two, but I bought a diesel one. We're going to hook up a compression tester to this thing and see if that engine is any good. And if it's not, we're going to have to figure out what we're going to do about it. Alright, I'll read the instructions and see how this goes. See what happens. Well, number one, even though it's sooty, looks pretty good. It's like 350. Let's see what we get for the rest of them. I'd say that one's about 375. Well, the worst one seems to be the best one. So, once again, it's got to be timing. Oh, I thought I turned my camera off a while ago. Anyway, so here's where I'm at. I got everything rolled up to TDC. I got my gauge on. It's at 1.1 millimeter it should be at. But you need to roll your engine back till it's off the dial. So let's try that. Let's not try that. I don't want to crank it around. Let's actually just disconnect that. Alright, and then you're supposed to bring that to 0. And that didn't take much. That should be 0. So now I gotta loosen. Hold on. It said 1.1. We're at like 1.1 and a half. That should be 0 for the pump. Now, sorry. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to loosen these bolts, and that should stop this from moving. And then I'll bring this back to TDC, and that'll be actual TDC for the pump. That's 1.3 now. Let's try to see if we can perfect that up a little bit. We're gonna do it all over again. I'd like it just to be a little bit closer. They said 1.1, so we're gonna go 1.1. Oh, actually, yeah, that's about perfect, I think. I guess you could see that. I just rolled it back and then forward to top dead center again. It looks pretty spot on. Let's put all the glow plugs back in, hook all my injector lines back up. And if it fires, great. If it doesn't fire, I really don't know. Might swap the injectors back to the original injectors. If not, I'm going to get a different... I'll see what I can do, but I'm getting tired of chasing my tail on this stupid thing. Alright. Going for the nuclear option. Alright, so I think that injection pump is no bueno. Or the
No
injectors.
bueno.
But either way, I've had it with this. I know Volkswagen TDI swaps are very popular, and this is not a bad engine. It's actually not a bad platform. The thing I don't like, and I'm going to be dead honest with you, is whenever you're running this setup, you have to run this extra small starter. And if you notice, I don't know if you can see it, the pinion gear is off that starter again. This is like the 4th time I broke that pinion gear. And every time you break that pinion gear, you have to tear this starter completely apart to replace it. And it's like $20. It's a pain in the ass. But it's like $20 every time to change it. And you can't go, we'll never go into Napa and get this starter. And that really makes me beg the question, because I don't want to just own this. This isn't I'm going to drive it to, town and back and, only put 10 miles on it. Like, I actually want to drive this. We want to drive this, right, George?
And I would like it for maybe a future car.
Shh, we'll get to that. You're not anywhere near 16 yet. Shut your mouth.
No!
When I built my Nova, I didn't film any of it because YouTube wasn't a thing. But I built it not so much with Nova parts, but I built it with stock parts. Stuff you could go into any O'Reilly's, Napa, Advanced Auto Parts and get. My engine came out of a Cadillac CTSV. There was nothing special about it. My starter was the same one from the Cadillac. My front and rear brakes, my front brakes were from a 79 Camaro. My rear brakes were from a 79 Cadillac. So, it was off-the-shelf stuff, because if I ever broke down anywhere away from home, I would be able to replace it. That's not true here.
Are we gonna still keep the turbo?
Well, we'll see. I didn't say we were getting rid of anything, you dork. Okay?
Okay.
But we're going to come up with a new plan, and a new plan of attack, and see where we go from there. Like I said, I have video. It runs on ether. That means it's fuel related, and it's related to that stupid thing over there.
Yeah.
And I've timed it the way they said to time it from the factory. I'm going to send all those parts back, and we're going to come up with a different way of doing this, alright?
Alright.
Alright, can you back up a little bit?
Yeah.
Shoot it back a little bit.